Hi, I'm Rollin. I'm here to teach you a little bit about computers, and we're going to start with just the very basics. The keyboard is going to be lesson number 1. Everybody's keyboard looks a little bit different. There's tons of manufacturers. They all have slightly different layouts, but the basic QWERTY keyboard, and we call it a QWERTY keyboard because it's QWERTY are the keys that almost every keyboard is going to start with on their um, with their letters. So for the basic QWERTY keyboard layout, looks something like this. You may or may not have these buttons in this order. This number pad may or may not be here. You may or may not even have these arrows or the function keys. But the basics of the keyboard are going to be the same from every Windows computer. So usually this will have some kind of Windows looking icon here as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to start up here at the top with the escape key. All the escape key does is it brings you essentially back to the last place you were if you're in, say, a full screen video or something like that. So while this is on YouTube, you can look at the bottom of the screen. You should see a little, looks kind of like brackets, and that'll maximize it. You can try out this escape key once you've maximized the video by hitting the escape, and it'll bring it back down. We'll talk about these function keys a little bit later. Actually, we're probably going to skip them for this video, as well as print, screen, scroll lock, and pause break. And we'll probably skip insert, page up, and page down as well. But we'll come over here. We're looking at these keys on this top row, and you'll notice they all have 2 symbols. So the first symbol on the bottom is what you're typing if you just press the key. So for instance, if I were to open a typing program and I wanted to type, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4. I could just press 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if I want to get the symbol that's above it, that is an exclamation point, at symbol, the pound sign, and the dollar sign, I would have to hold down this shift button while I click those different keys. The same goes for the tilde, the underscore, anything like that. So if I want that top button, I'm holding the shift key right now on my keyboard. I know you can't see it, but I am, I promise. We hit the number 1 key while holding it, and we'll get an exclamation point. We hit the number 2 key while holding it, we'll get at. Number 3, we'll get the hashtag. I've been hanging around my generation too long. We get the pound sign, and we hit the number 4, we get dollar sign. This works for all of these keys all the way through. Now, if we want to get rid of one of these things we've typed, say we're typing a letter to our kid or something like that on an email, which we'll talk about later, there's a button here. Sometimes it looks like a little arrow pointed backwards. Sometimes it says BKSP or backspace. This is our backspace key, and it's almost always positioned above this enter button or possibly above this backslash key, depending again on what your keyboard layout looks like. Sometimes the enter button doesn't quite take up this much space, but it's usually in the top right corner of this main section of the keyboard is the backspace button. So say I've typed hello and I misspelled my. Alright, so I want a backspace. All I do is hit the backspace button, and it takes wherever the cursor is. The cursor is this little flashing straight up line. Wherever it is, it will just move it back 1 space and delete whatever was behind it. So if I want to backspace the M, if I want to backspace all the way to the beginning, I can do that just by hitting it multiple times. All right. So that's that. Now, the tab button over here, I want to make that larger. There we go. This tab button allows you to indent, essentially. Basically, like if you were writing a letter and you started a new paragraph, you would indent that first paragraph. All you want to do is hit the tab button, and you'll notice the cursor jumped over. So now it's typing hello, and then if I want to go to the next line, I hit my enter key, brings me up to the next line, and now if I don't hit tab, you'll see it hasn't jumped my words over. So tab is just an indent. Now the letters, they're all pretty self-explanatory. You got every letter A through Z. They're in this particular order because of the way that people type. Typically the more common letters are on this row, and the least common letters might be on this row. So that makes it, as you get better at typing, it'll make your typing faster, rather than having A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, caps and shift. These two, when you're just typing, do kind of similar things. One is a toggle, and the other you have to hold down. So caps, all that does is make everything you type in capital letters. Now, I didn't have to hold down the caps key. If I wanted to do the same thing with the shift key, I'm now turning the caps key off. I have to hold the shift key while I type all of that. Now, you can see where if you need to type something in all caps, that's why it's called all caps, it's the caps lock key is on. So it may say caps, may say caps lock, whatever. It's a caps lock key. And that just causes everything to be typed in uppercase. Now, again, if you just want one letter capitalized, just hello, the H in hello, all you do is just hold the shift while you click the H, and then the rest of it you type normally without holding the shift. If you want the whole thing capitalized, hit the caps button. Makes it easier than holding shift while you type the whole thing. Let's see, what else do we have here? The control key, that is used a lot in hotkeys, and hotkeys are basically key combinations that allow you to do certain things inside the computer. All too similar. We won't really talk too much about those right now, but essentially it's going to, we'll talk about it more in later videos, but it'll give you kind of a way to quickly get one thing or another done without having to click through all the different menus. This button sometimes, especially on Windows computers, will have a little Windows key, and I'm going to see if I can find you a picture here of a Windows key so you'll kind of know what it looks like. I'll just look for a Windows keyboard, and it'll look something like this overlaid on this key. So that button, all it's going to do, and I'm going to press mine right now so you get an idea, and this particular operating system, Windows 10, it brings up a whole menu over on the side of the computer that allows you to just kind of search for things. So it brings up this menu. And my face is probably over it. I'm sorry, I should have put that in the top right corner instead of the bottom left, but it brings up your start menu. And from here you can kind of go wherever you want using the keyboard. So say I want to go to the Internet Explorer. I just typed in Internet down there. Now I don't use Internet Explorer, I use another program. We'll talk about that later as well. But the program I use to go to the internet is called Chrome. And again, here you can type whatever you like. You can ask Google any of your questions that you have. Say, how do I learn to type? And then the first thing that happens is you pop up. It gives you a learn to type faster, touch typing techniques, all kinds of stuff. But as you can see, you get kind of a useful, the better you can use this keyboard, the better you're going to be at using the computer. we've gone over the Alt keys, all that, or we haven't really gone over them. We'll go over them more later, but we've gone over pretty much this main section of the keyboard. Let's talk a little bit about the Home, the End, the Delete, and the arrow keys, and then we'll move over to the numlock, the number pad and the numlock keys. So, bringing back up the notepad here, we're going to move it to this side this time. Now, Home and End are kind of do the exact opposite of each other, but they're both very useful, especially if you're typing out something long. So we're just going to go with hello, my name is Rollin again, just to show you what this does. So the home key, as you can see, my cursor is over here. And I don't think I mentioned it, but the space bar just gives you, just allows you to put a space between each word, and that's the big button at the bottom. I am making this very simple, just for kind of everybody, no matter their skill level with computers. So, and it's really going to be used for beginners. So I apologize if some of this is obvious, but you know, I want it to be very comprehensive. So we're looking here, we've got the home key, and if I press the home key, all that happens is it takes my cursor from here and puts it to the very home part of the very beginning of whatever line I'm on. So it doesn't take me all the way to the beginning if I'm on another line. But it will take me to the beginning of the line. The end key does the exact opposite. Wherever I am in the line, if I hit end, it puts the cursor at the end. That cursor is just wherever I'm going to be typing next. So hit the space bar, I can continue typing right here. Alright, now that's home and end, and we'll talk about delete as well. So delete is kind of like a backspace key, except for instead of deleting things behind it like a backspace key does, it deletes things in front of it. So, or to the right of it, I should say. So if I wanted to delete Rollin and say, hello, my name is James, now all I do is go to the front of it and I can delete. Or I can go to the back of whatever I'm trying to delete and hit backspace. They kind of do the same thing, they just do it on different sides of the cursor. All right. Now, the arrow keys, we're going to do that again. The arrow keys, all they allow you to do is to move around inside your text box. So right now I'm just after the O in the second hello. If I want to move up to the M, all I would do is hit this up arrow key here, and it would move me up to the my. If I want to move down, hit the down arrow. Now if I want to move over, say to the very beginning of hello, I'll just hit the left arrow key a few times, and over I go. The cursor's now in front of hello. Alright, so that's the arrow keys. The right arrow obviously does the opposite of the left arrow. Now, we're going to look here at the number pad. Now, not all computers have a number pad. Some of them are smaller. They don't have room to fit it. They just get rid of it. In order to use the numbers on the number pad, there is a numlock key, and usually it has a little light on it or something, or maybe one of these is lit up that says numlock. It has some kind of indicator that this numlock is on. So you have to have the numlock on to type these numbers. So my numlock key is currently lit up. It is on. Or if you have a keyboard that has something up here that says numlock or just has numbers over it, that's your numlock light. And if that light's on, you can use your number lock or your number pad, which makes it nice if you're having to enter a bunch of, something into a spreadsheet or accounting or anything like that, or if you're just typing out a phone number. So 555 404 1234. And again, it's got the little operators here, so you can use it as a calculator. You got your divided by, multiply, minus and plus, and then enter kind of acts like an equal button if you're using it inside of a calculator. So you can do the same thing here, 5 plus 5 using those number keys. So all I did was hit 5 plus and 5, and then if I hit enter, I get 10. Now you've got all kinds of different things you can do with this keyboard. And this isn't this isn't everything you can do with it, but it's a basic overview, and I hope it helps with kind of figuring out how to use your particular keyboard. And again, each one's different. You'll find different things on yours that someone else may not have. My keyboard has a couple of different buttons that do certain things in the computer. It'll put it to sleep and all kinds of stuff. So we'll go. We probably won't have a video over just individual keyboards, but for now, hopefully that gives you a basic idea and helps you out a little bit with how the computers work, the keyboards for the computers work. Anyway, we'll see you on the next video. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mouse on that one. It'll probably be a little bit shorter. There's not as much to go over with that, but we'll see you next time.